EFCO, one of the world leaders of the concrete construction forming industry with 75 years of proven successes, continues to provide innovative solutions to save labor and consistently deliver a quality concrete finish. HandyForm is an all-steel concrete forming system that with reasonable care will last a lifetime and will require no replacement of form panel face sheets. All regular EFCO HandyForm panels are of a size and weight that can easily be handled by one worker, set and stripped without the need for a crane. The 600 by 1200 millimeter HandyForm panel is the base module and weighing only 22 kilograms, averaging 29 kilograms per square meter. Take-up panels start at 50 millimeters in width and come in 300 millimeter, 600 millimeter, and 1200 millimeter lengths. Over 60 benefits have been incorporated into the HandyForm system, resulting in a concrete forming system that gives the maximum adjustability, as well as the lowest labor and material cost to help you achieve your lowest in-place concrete costs. Add to this the excellent concrete finish the HandyForm panels can deliver to greatly reduce concrete finishing costs, and the results to your customer are a great product and successful project. HandyForm, EFCO's handset forming system, is an easy-to-use system designed for efficient field operations. The system offers many ways for you to save both labor and equipment costs, and inexperienced workers quickly learn the simple mechanics of the HandyForm system. Let's take a look at some applications and the versatility of the system. HandyForms have proven their value on many projects, including factories, warehouses, and refineries, churches, schools, and university buildings, home building and high-rise construction, water and sewage treatment plants, stadiums and sports arenas, just to name a few. The special features of the HandyForm make it a real value with its uses on many projects, including low walls, high walls, corners and pilasters, haunches and corbels, straight walls and curved walls, box culverts and tunnels, tanks and tanks with troughs. This is a handset system with almost unlimited versatility and very few standard components. The heart of the HandyForm system is the all-steel high-strength alloy faceplate. The side flanges of the panel have holes in the flanges at 25 millimeters center to center around the perimeter for use with the plate clamp and other accessories. These holes permit the panels to be clamped in numerous positions and stagger the panels when necessary on 25 millimeter centers. When the foundations step up or down for any reason, EFCO panels can shift to the nearest 25 millimeter to match. This compares to some competitive systems that can only be stepped in 150 millimeter increments. With the EFCO system, the costly wood fills can be greatly reduced. HandyForm flanges are welded directly behind the faceplate, providing a nice tight joint where two panels meet. Many of the competitors who use plastic-coated face sheets and steel frames for the panels deliver large, heavy joints, otherwise seen as a triple joint. The alloy steel dent-resistant face sheet will provide steel-smooth concrete year after year. The grills on the backs of the HandyForm panels are arranged to give maximum flexibility, and when coupled with the all-steel face sheet, make the system the high-strength panel. The spreader tie bearing in the HandyForm panel is an integral part of the panel and is designed to transfer the concrete load from the tie into the flanges and the grillwork of the panel. The locking device on the pin bearing is designed to lock the pin into position to hold it securely during the pouring and concrete vibrating operation. The EFCO plate clamp is used to hold the forms together. It has a dowel pin that goes through the flange holes to align the panels, and the jaw of the clamp rotates around the pin, aligning the holes to lock the forms together. This is a very fast and efficient one-piece connection. The flanges of the EFCO form have a slight crimp that causes the jaws of the plate clamp to always be tight on the panel flanges. The two adjacent flanges act as a spring clamp as the jaw of the plate clamp comes down over the two flanges. The EFCO spreader tie acts as a spreader, keeping the forms apart, as well as a tie, keeping the forms together when the pour is being made. EFCO offers a spreader tie with three options. The first option is a removable spreader tie with a handle that can be removed from the wall form setup prior to the forms being removed. The second option is a removable spreader tie without the handle that can be removed from the wall after the pour and after the forms have been removed and reused. The third option is a breakback spreader tie. After the forms have been removed, the tie can be snapped off at the breakback notch on the tie, back from the face of the concrete 12 1/2 millimeters. EFCO spreader ties have a load carrying capacity of 21 kilonewtons with a minimum ultimate design strength of 42 kilonewtons in tension. The high-strength alloy steel gives the EFCO tie high strength and at the same time provides you with the option to snap off the tie at the breakback notch, leaving the tie concealed inside the concrete. The EFCO spreader tie pin locks spreader ties in place and at the same time aligns form panels carrying the load from the tie to the pin bearing and also on into the adjacent panel, all at the same time. This feature of the spreader tie pin makes clamping the panels together with the plate clamp totally independent of the spreader tie system. This is a very important feature for EFCO because it gives you the ability to remove a form panel from the setup without disturbing the panels on either side, above or below the panel, to be temporarily removed. This is many times required to clean out the footing prior to pouring, adding penetrations through the form, and also as an inspection window prior to pouring. The EFCO system has a tie hole near the edge of each panel. This is important because where two panels come together, you have an option of two tie holes to choose from. This is important so that should the tie run into reinforcing steel already in place or other obstructions, simply move the spreader tie to the adjacent tie hole in the adjacent panel to miss the obstruction. This is not possible with systems that use a tie system that ties between the flanges of the two panels, or other systems where tie holes are away from the edge of the panels. Another real important feature of the handy form is no whalers are required for structural strength to transfer concrete loads from panel to panel. The spreader ties and tie pins take the loads, instead of heavy whalers for strength. EFCO uses 38 by 75 millimeter steel aligner tubes, available in various lengths, to align form panel setups. The simple cam action EFCO aligner clamp makes it possible for one worker to place aligners. The aligner clamp with its rubber seat clamps down with a positive cam action, pulling and holding the steel tube aligner tight against the form panel. Horizontal aligners are used on one side of the wall along the top of a panel setup. Vertical aligners are required when the form setup requires more than one panel vertically, and aligners are placed on the opposite side of the wall from the horizontal aligners. Bracing the form setup is easily accomplished by fastening either to the horizontal or vertical aligners. The spacing of the braces will vary with job conditions. The aligning and bracing in no way serves to contain the concrete, but only to hold the wall in proper alignment. EFCO offers non-telescoping lightweight pipe braces for walls to a height of 2,400 millimeters. In addition, for higher walls, EFCO offers telescoping pipe braces and a pipe brace shoe for connecting to a concrete slab at the base of the pour. The Handyform equipment has a complete scaffolding system available. This system includes scaffold brackets and removable rail posts. The scaffolding is easily attached to the form panels with spreader tie pins. The placement of scaffolding is an important factor in reducing form labor cost, and the ability to have access at the necessary level is an important benefit of the HandyForm equipment. The scaffold bracket for a HandyForm setup can be quickly attached to most any vertical flange with the spreader tie pin. A sway brace prevents the bracket from swaying. Add planking for the scaffold platform, top rail, mid-rail, and a toe board for a complete scaffold. Competitive awareness is very important. When a contractor leases, rents, or purchases a forming system, it is important to first identify the options. The best way to make the important decision is to know the features and benefits of each system and to compare the differentiating facts. Let's look at just a few for the HandyForm system. An all-steel, high-strength alloy steel faceplate delivering a top-quality concrete finish. Super simple mechanics of the EFCO systems: plate clamp, standard pin, and a liner clamp. EFCO's spreader tie system, automatically delivering accurate dimensions for the wall to save concrete. EFCO's single-line form joint versus some other systems' triple-line joint, requiring extra concrete finishing time and cost. No form wailering required to hold concrete pressures, only aligners to align the form setup. One worker, one lightweight panel system for labor efficiency. Spreader ties can be pulled and reused or left in place and the ends snapped off. EFCO versatility with a wide range of corners, inside and outside, angled corners, and a wide variety of take-up panels to eliminate costly wood fills. EFCO is a company to work with your company to deliver engineered forming solutions and form erection drawings specific for your project, and field service to support the use of the system on the job. We have looked at uses for the EFCO HandyForm system and how it can be applied. The heart of the system, with its all-important all-steel high-strength alloy faceplate. The important components of the plate clamp, standard pin, and a liner clamp. Competitive awareness studies. Now it's time to look at how we support your project. These ways include availability of product, and EFCO makes these products available in strategically located warehouses. Form erection drawings for your project are very important, and in most cases, job-specific form erection drawings will be provided for the project. The installation manual is a very important part of EFCO's HandyForm product line. The manual makes installation and use of the HandyForm system crystal clear without, in most cases, any further written or verbal instructions required. You will find in the manual important maximum pour rate data, including accessories and typical job photos. The installation manual has been captured in a DVD video available as part 2 of this DVD, Assembly, Cycling, and Safety. Part 2 follows with additional illustrations and pictures. Wraparound support is very important. We at EFCO pride ourselves with our 75 years of product development and project applications, supported with a fine formwork and shoring engineering and drafting team. Our engineers are presented to you as part of our wraparound support team. In addition, our team includes our plant manager to assure delivery of your equipment and answer questions about shipments and returns, field service for on-site support, and our district sales administration, someone to call should you have any questions about billing and to make other contacts should you need additional support. We are pleased to be your formwork supplier. Please give us the opportunity. EFCO's handset solution is HandyForm. The EFCO HandyForm system is the most versatile handset forming system on the market today. Used in over 25 countries all over the world, cost-conscious contractors are quickly realizing the benefits of this forming system and its best value and lowest in-place concrete cost features. The real cost of forming concrete is the cost of the forms plus the cost of using. The EFCO HandyForm system is low cost, easy to use, and supplied for general-purpose concrete construction. This means the system is ideal for straight walls, round tanks, foundations, cut-up areas, abutments, walls with brick seat offsets, tunnels, columns, and many, many more. The only limitation to the EFCO HandyForm system is the imaginations of the architect, engineer, and the contractor. The simple mechanics of the HandyForm system enables construction crews to quickly learn how to assemble and cycle the equipment. HandyForm panels are lightweight and conveniently sized. Even the largest panel can be set and stripped with one crew member. All projects are slightly different from one another, and that's not a problem using EFCO's HandyForm system. Forming a partnership connecting your construction team and EFCO's engineers to design a detailed process plan for the assembly, cycling, and safety of your project is key to your success. The EFCO engineering team can help you select the best forming options for your project and provide form erection drawings showing details of the assembly, placement, and cycling of your EFCO formwork. This video in EFCO's series of safety and training videos will share with you detailed demonstrations of methods for assembling and cycling the HandyForm system for many different applications. Because safety is everybody's job, this video will focus on safety, reducing labor costs, and the effort required for your project. You must observe and follow all safety guidelines and applicable codes at all times. EFCO reminds you to think safety and work safely. The HandyForm Installation Manual is another excellent EFCO support system and resource with pictures and illustrations. Used in conjunction with this video, it can really make the job of form erection easy. Please note that the assembly and cycling requirements for your project may differ from the examples used here. However, your crew will quickly recognize the versatility of the HandyForm system and how it applies to your project. At EFCO, we will keep safety and productivity in mind as our engineers and field service representatives help you design the best assembly and cycling method for your project. The EFCO HandyForm system is rated with a 57 kilonewtons per square meter pour pressure with 600 millimeter tie spacing and 36 kilonewtons per square meter pour pressure with 1200 millimeter tie spacing. This feature of the HandyForm system allows you to pour concrete easier and faster. Of equal importance is its very durable high-strength alloy steel faceplate. Planning the work and working the plan is the key to success. Good engineering support by both EFCO and your own personnel for your project is, of course, a requirement. Let's go to work. Only 3 tools are required to assemble the HandyForm system: a straight claw carpenter's hammer, an EFCO drift pin, and EFCO pin and plate clamp tool. The tool's use and value will soon become very obvious. Erection of the HandyForm system can be achieved in a few simple steps. Step 1. After the wall lines are established, install a level wooden base plate on the footing. A base plate is important when setting panels on a concrete footing or slab, and even more important when setting forms on the ground without a footing or between the footings on open ground. Step 2. The erection of panels can start on either the inside or outside face of a wall to be formed, but should always begin at a corner. Attach the inside or outside corner panel to the first HandyForm panel to be set. Then add an adjacent panel to complete the corner. Be sure that the handle on the 600 by 1200 panel is located at the lower half or towards the bottom of the setup as shown. Secure the panels with EFCO plate clamps. The EFCO drift pin is designed for aligning the holes in adjacent panel flanges. This will make it easier to align flange holes to place the plate clamps. Proper placement of plate clamps is essential. When placing the first clamp, insert the pin portion of the clamp through the second hole from the top of the flange. The jaws of the clamp will cover the third hole. Next, place the pin of the second clamp through the 11th hole from the bottom flange. You will notice that the jaws will cover the 10th hole from the bottom. One end of the pin and plate clamp tool is used to assist in the placing of plate clamps when necessary. The other end of this tool is used for placing and removing spreader tie pins. The second clamp placement will ensure more than enough clearance to insert the plate clamp tool for removal of the clamps when you cycle the formwork. Please note that the placement of the second clamp into the 11th hole from the bottom is only required on the first row of panels set to provide ground clearance. Clamps placed on panels set for additional wall height will be inserted into the 4th hole from the bottom flange, with the jaws covering the 3rd hole. Outside corners will require 3 clamps as shown. Step 3. Check bottom alignment of forms with the base plate in both directions. Adjust if necessary, and nail the form panel to the base plate. Step 4. Continue placing and clamping additional form panels to the side of the wall being formed first, and secure each panel to the base plate. Caution: secure the form setup with temporary bracing to keep it from tipping over. Failure could cause personal injuries. Step 5. Place required reinforcing steel. Step 6. Determine the spreader tie slot that will be used. Insert the tie and pin with the EFCO standard pin, locking the handle of the pin. It is important to note spreader ties are only required on one side of an EFCO flange joint. Step 7. Once you have established and set the first side of the wall, you can start erecting the second side. Place the first form to be erected directly opposite the opposing panel closest to the corner. This positioning is important to ensure proper alignment of spreader ties. EFCO provides various sized take-up panels to accommodate the corner. Insert the tie and pin. Then clamp the panel and nail to the base plate. Continue adding form panels and connecting spreader ties with the tie pin as indicated by your form erection drawings. Bracing and aligning of the handy form system is a simple operation. Horizontal and vertical aligners serve to align the form panels, and the common practice of wailering is seldom required. A wailer is required only when there is an unsupported form joint without a spreader tie at the joint. Horizontal aligners are normally only placed on one side of an EFCO form setup. The location and number required will vary with the height of the setup. Fasten the steel tube aligners with rubber-seated aligner clamps at each form panel joint. With long lengths of walls, horizontal aligners need to be lapped at least one full panel width to provide continuity of alignment. At the corner, one aligner can be lowered in order to allow both aligners to run past the corner. Place one aligner clamp at each form joint in order to align the completed assembly. Vertical aligners are only required when the form setup is more than one form panel in height. Place the vertical aligners on the side opposite the horizontal aligners. When placing vertical aligners, raise them slightly above the form setup in order to place the aligner clamp at the top. Place aligner clamps at all form joint locations. Aligning the top edge of the setup is very important and is easily accomplished with a diagonal adjustable pipe brace. Attach the pipe brace to a vertical flange form joint. The spacing of braces will vary with job conditions. Corner conditions are easily handled with the HandyForm system using a wide and available assortment of corner and take-up panels. Careful consideration should be given to the selection of the proper corner panel to fit each application. This will reduce the number of take-up panels required and eliminate wood fillers at the corners. The use of the outside angle corner allows the connection of two HandyForm panels to form an outside corner using any size panel to form the required distance. When using the outside angle corner, a third plate clamp should be used at the center of the panel. When the corner form layout is determined, it will result in one of two conditions. Either the outside wall dimension at the corner will equal the width of one form panel, the best condition, resulting in all joints with spreader ties, or the second condition will require more than one panel to meet the outside dimension, which will leave one or more untied form panel joints. Any form setup with untied joints will require wailering at the top and bottom of each row of panels. Common 45-degree intersections are handled with EFCO flexible angle corners. The 135-degree outside flex form and the 225-degree inside flex form provide an excellent 45-degree corner forming solution. EFCO provides a wide variety of take-up panels to accommodate any inside or outside corner dimension. Most projects have varying wall heights, and the EFCO HandyForm system can accommodate any situation imaginable. As wall heights change, and they often will, consider the difficulty when the stepped footings and footing heights also change or are not consistent. The HandyForm system can be raised or lowered in 25 mm increments up or down to meet the varying conditions. This HandyForm feature ensures vertical form joint alignment. With the strength and construction of the HandyForm panels, the setup can be assembled as high as project conditions require. EFCO scaffolding is the easiest and best method to erect forms for higher walls. In the normal situation, you will add a level of EFCO scaffold brackets and scaffolding for each two 1200 mm form panels high, making the scaffolding to reach the third level to 1200 mm form panels. Caution! All work performed in the air presents possible fall situations that can result in death or serious injury. The placement of spreader ties, plate clamps, and aligners is critical for the performance of the HandyForm system. The HandyForm installation manual shows sample layouts for varying wall heights. When HandyForms and accessories are assembled according to these diagrams, the rated capacity for concrete pressure on the forms is 56 kilonewtons per square meter, or 1,200 pounds per square foot. It is the form user's responsibility to monitor and manage concrete temperature, concrete chemistry, and concrete placement rate to prevent concrete pressure from exceeding the rated capacity of the form. Warning: pouring too fast may cause form rupture, resulting in serious injury or death. Do not exceed the rated capacity of the forming system. Pilasters are easily formed with a series of corner combinations. Use a combination of inside corner panels, outside angle corners, and HandyForm take-up panels. Selecting the proper corner and take-up panels will reduce the number of internal ties and external wailers required on pilaster conditions. The width and depth of pilasters vary from job to job, and the requirement for wailering, if any, will be determined based on dimension requirements. A 100 mm deep by 400 mm wide pilaster is easily formed in this example. There are no untied joints on either side of the wall that require wailering. Only an aligner is needed. For the next example, a wailer is required opposite the pilaster side because there is an untied joint. When both the face of the pilaster and the take-up on the opposite side of the wall require more than one form panel, a tie can be placed through the pilaster. Because both sides are now tied, only an aligner is required. In some cases, when more than one form panel is required on the face of the pilaster and the opposite wall, and a tie is not able to be placed through the pilaster, a wailer is required on both sides. As pilasters become greater in depth, it may become necessary to add a spreader tie in the same direction as the pilaster projects from the wall. This can be accomplished by raising the two pilaster side forms 25 millimeters, enabling the spreader ties to cross. When pilasters occur on both sides of the wall, a combination of wailers and ties may be required. Many projects will require chamfered corners on exposed concrete, and these can be either vertical or horizontal. The EFCO vinyl chamfer strip is installed by placing the tail of the chamfer between the flange of the panel and the outside angle corner. With the vinyl chamfer between the panel flange and the outside angle corner, take the standard EFCO drift pin and drive a hole through the plastic chamfer first. Then, as a second step, add a plate clamp through the hole to secure the vinyl tail in place for the pour. Top of the wall chamfer is normally made of wood and attached to a rectangular board to form both a chamfer and a grade strip to screed the top of the wall. This is attached to the steel face sheet of the handy form panel by using EFCO's self-tapping screws in one easy step. Bulkheads are fabricated on the job site with holes drilled to accommodate reinforcing steel. Keyways are added as required. The EFCO spreader tie is ideal for blocking the bulkhead. Spreader ties should be placed on 600 millimeter vertical centers to retain the bulkhead. This helps to ensure a true vertical construction joint. It is a good idea to add a block of lumber behind the spreader tie. This will add strength to the bulkhead. Keyways can be nailed to the bulkhead when required. When specific locations for construction joints are required, the blocking behind the spreader tie can vary to meet project requirements. When a water stop is required at the construction joint, the bulkhead must be built in two halves. A sufficient space must be blocked between the tie and the bulkhead to allow the water stop to remain in place. On higher walls, it is advisable to place the vertical aligner adjacent to the bulkhead to maintain vertical alignment. As wall height and thickness increase, it will be necessary to brace the bulkhead. Ledges in concrete walls are a common requirement on construction projects. They can often vary in width and can be located at many different elevations. Follow your EFCO form erection drawings closely for brick seat instructions. To form a typical brick ledge, the form panels below the elevation of the brick ledge are erected as required. A 25 millimeter piece of lumber cut to the required width and length is then laid on top of the top row of spreader ties. The bottom elevation of this wood becomes the brick ledge elevation. Handy form panels are then erected on this piece of wood to form the remainder of the wall. Horizontal aligners are placed on the wall as in a typical setup, and a second horizontal aligner is placed just below the brick ledge elevation to maintain alignment of the wall at the brick ledge height. Vertical aligners are placed as required on the opposite side of the wall. When a brick ledge falls below the tie, it is necessary to create a slot in the job-built wooden box for spreader ties. Window bucks, door bucks, bolt templates, and keyways are job-built and normally constructed out of wood and not part of the EFCO package. All of these inserts placed below the top of the concrete placement should be placed prior to setting the second side of the form setup. All inserts can be attached to the handy form panel by using EFCO's self-tapping screws in one easy step to hold the insert securely in place. This step should be done from both sides of the wall where applicable. If the insert requires a chamfer, the strip can be nailed directly to the insert. Larger inserts, as for an example door bucks and window bucks, should be built to the exact wall thickness to eliminate grout leakage. Provide interior compression bracing for door and window bucks able to withstand the concrete pressures. Drill holes into the bottom frame of the window buck. This will allow air to escape and help to minimize honeycombing of placed concrete. Bolt templates can be attached to the formwork in two ways. If the construction of the template allows attaching dimensional lumber, as is shown in this example, an EFCO aligner clamp can be used to fasten the template in the proper location. Or, if it is more convenient, the bolt template can be drilled and nailed to the form panels. When job specifications require a keyway with dowels, an easy solution is the hollow key with the dowels bent into it. This hollow key is then simply drilled and nailed to the handy form panel. Keyways that don't require doweling are drilled and nailed to the panels. For corbels and haunches, standard EFCO handiforms can be used depending on project specifications. A pilaster haunch can also be easily formed by forming a pilaster at the required elevation and building a wood soffit. This can make it easy to meet project dimensional requirements to locate corbels as required. Round tanks and curved walls are an excellent application for EFCO's handiform system. Standard handiform panels used with handiform flexible panels will form the required radius. The size of the standard panel will vary according to the radius and amount of cord allowed. The first step to form a round tank is planning your work. An engineer can calculate the inside and outside circumference of tank walls. The second step is to select the standard panel module for the tank, depending on the allowable cord dimension. Most tanks are formed with a 600 mm cord, but sometimes a smaller tank requires a 400 mm or 300 mm panel. Some very large tanks may use a 1200 mm cord. The normal assumption is that a 50 mm flexible panel will be used between each 600 mm modular panel on the inside of the wall. Completing the outside plating plan requires using wider flex panels in order to make up the difference in the circumference of the inside and outside of the tank. After the wall line has been established, it is necessary to fasten a base plate to the slab or footing. This base plate can either be strips of plywood cut to the radius or a series of short lumber pieces equal to the cord length. The best method is to erect the inside of the curved wall or round tank first. To begin erection, place both edges of the form panel directly above wall line and nail to the base plate through the holes provided in the bottom flange. Clamp the appropriate flexible panel to the first panel set as indicated in EFCO's form erection drawings. Next, clamp another form panel to the flexible panel. Align the joint between the flexible form and the form panel just set with the wall line and secure to the base plate by nailing through the holes in the bottom flange. Move the leading edge of the panel just set directly over the wall line and repeat nailing procedure. Repeat this entire procedure around the tank. To erect the outside wall, place the first form panel directly opposite a panel on the inside and pin the spreader ties. Nail the form panel to the base plate to prevent horizontal movement. Set the next form panel in place, placing it over the spreader ties, and temporarily pin the ties. Set the required flexible form between the panels and clamp, making sure that all pins are securely in the locked position. Caution: a vertical row of spreader ties is required on both sides of the flexible form panels. When the diameter of a round tank exceeds 21 meters and job specifications allow, it is possible to eliminate the flexible form on the inside and use take-up panels on the outside as required. Place vertical aligners on the inside of the radius wall at regular intervals using the EFCO rubber-seated aligner clamp, clamping to the standard form panels. These aligners should always be equal distance from the nearest flex form panel and may be placed at center-to-center dimensions as required. A diagonal brace is attached to the vertical flange. The HandyForm system will economically handle box culvert forming jobs. Shoring of the roof decks in box culverts is greatly reduced or completely eliminated with the HandyForm system. When erecting a box culvert, utilizing the bowstring method is very efficient. The two inside walls will be erected first. At both ends of the box culvert, a squaring frame should be attached using vertical aligners to maintain the proper width and ensuring that the box remains square during erection. After erection of the walls, the fillet or box corners are clamped to the deck panel and the entire assembly clamped to the wall forms in the section. When one form panel meets the required box culvert width, shoring is not required as the bowstring tie eliminates the need for shoring. Fillet corners are available in various sizes, allowing the deck to be formed with a single form panel. After the deck has been clamped into place, the bowstring ties can be placed. Bowstring ties can be attached to the tie bearing adjacent to a wall tie. Once the inside box is erected and tied, production plating of the outside wall forms begins. Vertical aligners are required on 1.2 meter centers to support the slab edge forms. The EFCO HandyForm system offers tremendous flexibility in forming many different sizes of box culverts. EFCO also offers an inside box culvert traveling framing system to be used with the modular HandyForms. This system has adjustable length legs and adjustable length headers. The inside strips easily, is lowered onto wheels, and moves in large sections. The EFCO Box Culvert Traveler System may be a solution that best fits the project requirements. Using HandyForm panels and outside tie-angle corners to form square or rectangular columns will produce columns with a consistently fine finish. The outside tie-angle corner is a standard EFCO outside angle corner with added plates welded to it. This facilitates using a standard length EFCO spreader tie to contain the concrete pressures that normally develop in a concrete column pour. The spreader ties used with the tie-angle corner are the same length as a spreader tie that would be used internal to a concrete wall of the same thickness as the column. Add EFCO plastic chamfers if the architect and/or owner requires chamfered corners. When placing the vinyl chamfer in a column, place the tail of the chamfer so that each dimension of the column has only been increased by the thickness of one plastic chamfer fishtail. This is called windmilling the chamfer tail around the column. The wide range of panel sizes available makes it easy to form columns of almost any dimension. Column forms can be either hand-set or moved in L-shaped sections with a crane. There are two basic column form setups using the HandyForm system. When the width of the column is equal to the width of one HandyForm panel, up to a maximum of 600 millimeters, internal spreader ties are not required. However, external ties are required at 600 millimeter centers. The external ties are fastened to the outside tie angle corner with EFCO plate clamps. This setup is usable on columns up to a maximum pouring pressure of 57 kilonewtons per square meter. To hold the concrete pressure, the plate clamp must be installed as shown. The base plate for columns can be placed either directly on the column lines with the form set on top, or it can be placed behind the flanges of the form panels, allowing the panels to set directly on the slab. When two or more HandyForm panels are required to meet the width of the column, internal and external ties are required to support the panel joints. Note that the two opposite sides of the form setup must be raised 25 millimeters above the other two sides to permit spreader ties to cross. Also note that vertical aligners are not required for this type of column, as the intersecting EFCO HandyForms provide the vertical alignment. External ties are also required at 600 millimeter centers. When a series of columns are formed along the same line, a horizontal aligner can be used to simplify the aligning and bracing. The HandyForm system is an excellent solution for slab edge forming and horizontal construction joints. Forming, bracing, and aligning of slab edge forms will vary depending on job conditions. The most economical and best method is when it's possible to leave the top row of handy form panels in place. You now have a row of forms that the slab edge can be clamped to, as well as maintain perfect vertical alignment. This will minimize and even eliminate the problems normally encountered with horizontal construction joints. In order to brace the setup, vertical aligners are required. If the wall height is less than the total form height, the handy form setup on the wall can also easily form a required slab edge. When using this method, a tie should be placed in both the bottom and the top of the top row of panels to be left in place. If the wall forms must be removed prior to the next lift of forms, EFCO recommends using a slab edge bracket. The slab edge bracket attaches to the spreader ties left in the wall and forces the next lift of forms against the prior lift of concrete. These methods produce by far the best results. Only as a last option, fasten a wood ledger to the poured concrete and erect the forms on top of the ledger as you would normally erect a wall. Stepped footings are a condition common to many projects, and because handy form panels have holes in their perimeter flanges at 25 millimeters center to center, panels can be stepped up or down depending on requirements of the project. In addition, when laying out the panels for a wall with step footings, the use of smaller form panels can also greatly reduce the number of wood fillers in the setup. Equally important, keep corners and pilasters in mind with the layout of panels. Corners and pilasters are better handled when panels remain in the vertical position. Tie requirements are the same as in any wall of varying heights. When job specifications require formwork penetrations, pipes, bolts, and reinforcing steel to protrude from a wall form setup, wooden insert panels are used. This method eliminates the need for drilling and/or cutting large holes in the form panel face sheet. Wooden panels to fit almost any size opening are made easy by attaching EFCO insert angles to a piece of 20 millimeter plywood cut to fit the form panel opening. The insert angles should be attached so that the 9 millimeter plate clamp pin perimeter holes will align with the holes in the form panel flanges. The easiest way is to first attach the insert angles to the panels in the setup. Second, cut a plywood panel to fit the opening and screw or nail into place. Drill or cut holes in the plywood before or after placing the plywood into the setup. When a wood insert panel is required to span more than 300 millimeters, additional support is required. With the design features of the HandyForm system, any form panel can be removed and replaced at any time. This permits temporary openings for inspection windows, cleaning out footings should it become necessary, and higher up in a setup to place concrete with a pouring window. When you know in advance the panels to be removed, place the spreader ties in the panels adjacent to the openings. Also, put the short end of the spreader tie pin to project into the opening. This makes it easy to remove and replace panels. A complete scaffolding system is available with HandyForm equipment. This system includes scaffold brackets with removable rail posts and is easily attached to the vertical flange of a HandyForm setup with the use of spreader tie pins. The EFCO scaffold bracket will support a 4.5 kilonewton concentrated load at a point 750 millimeters from the form face. Scaffold brackets should be placed at a maximum of 2.4 meters on centers and include a top rail, middle rail, and a toe board. All the scaffold rails, toe boards, and planking are to be provided by the contractor, and all scaffolding must follow all local codes and requirements. If there is a need to place a scaffold bracket on a poured wall after the forms have been removed, this is a special warning. If the project is using EFCO's break-back spreader tie, scaffolding should not be placed on the wall using this tie. The notch in the tie gives it the breakback feature and is not a safe tie to place scaffolding. Warning: after the concrete is placed, set, and form panels removed, scaffold brackets should never be attached to the spreader ties with a breakback notch. Failure of the spreader tie could result in serious injury. A spreader tie with a breakback notch in a concrete wall where the form panels have been removed could break under a relatively small load. Spreader ties without breakback notches protruding from a wall of concrete make an excellent EFCO scaffold bracket support. These are spreader ties that will eventually be removed by pulling the ties. Spreader ties to be removed should be greased and, for best results, removed within 24 hours of the concrete placement. For extra long spreader ties to be removed, EFCO offers a plastic sleeve. Caution: users are encouraged to perform a job site safety assessment before work begins to identify and avoid any possible hazards. Failure to eliminate potential hazards may result in an unsafe site and cause injury. Prior to every pour, inspection is a requirement that must not be compromised. It takes a qualified, knowledgeable technician to look over a setup in every detail before each pour. This work includes both sides of the setup. Every spreader tie, pin, and plate clamp must be checked. It means inspecting for all tied and untied joints. For the safety of the crew and the success of the project, be sure to inspect spreader ties, spreader tie pins, plate clamps, untied joints, F-coat form oil, aligners, aligner clamps, align top of wall, vertical and horizontal alignment, bulkheads secure, scaffold and guardrails properly installed. In order to secure low stripping cost and at the same time protect the form equipment, the crew performing this operation should be properly instructed and supervised. Systematic handling of each operation will save both time and equipment. Be sure that workers are wearing hard hats and safety glasses. Stripping crews should be provided with buckets to collect and sort accessories directly as they come off the wall. This practice will provide an efficient operation and greatly reduce the possibility of accessory losses on the job site. Step 1. Remove aligner clamps and aligners. Step 2. Remove spreader tie pins. The pins should be removed using EFCO standard pin and plate clamp tool. Place the round end of the tool over the spreader tie pin, rotate the pin, and drive it out with a hammer. If the pins are difficult to remove due to limited space, it is suggested that the spreader tie pin puller be used. The tie pin puller tool is especially useful in removing pins near inside corners. Step 3. Remove the plate clamps. This is where we use the other end of the pin and plate clamp tool. Place the oval end over the plate clamp handle and rotate the plate clamp to remove the jaws from the flange. Then, with a hammer, strike the tool to drive the pin through the hole. Sorting the plate clamps, standard pins, and aligner clamps into buckets during the stripping operation facilitates easy and efficient form setting for the next setup. Step 4. Next, remove the panels. If handy-form panels become difficult to remove from the wall after the pins and plate clamps have been removed, an EFCO plate puller is available to assist in this operation. Simply place the pin of the plate puller in the top flange of the panel and use the hammering action to remove the panel. Do not permit the throwing or dropping of form panels during the stripping operation. This could result in personal injury and damage to the panels. Step 5. If the spreader ties with a handle option has been used, the ties must be pulled prior to removing form panels. Use EFCO's hammer spreader tie puller to pull EFCO spreader ties properly greased or with a sleeve. If the spreader tie option with the breakback notches or the option with no notches and no handle have been used, these ties are removed and broken back in Step 7. Step 6. An orderly job site is one key to an efficient operation, and one important step is to sort and stack form panels as they come off the wall. Step 7. When form panels are immediately wiped down and cleaned off as they come off the wall, it is easy and very efficient. Allowing panels to set before cleaning gives time for the green concrete to set up and makes the panels difficult to clean. Oiling the form panel face sheet is critical. As an example, you wouldn't run your car without oil. The same goes for form panels. With the EFCO system, you have the opportunity to use the spreader ties that can be pulled and reused. These ties without the breakback notches should be greased or used with a paper sleeve and then pulled using EFCO's heavy-duty hammer tie puller. For the ties that are left in place, the spreader ties with the breakback notches, take a hard blow of a hammer directly down on the top of the tie on edge to break off the end of the tie protruding from the wall. A 12.5 millimeter breakback tie will snap off approximately 12 millimeters behind the face of the wall. Grout the spreader tie whole after the ties have been snapped off. Step 8. Good form maintenance at the job site will produce a better concrete appearance, lower costs for setting and stripping. A systematic maintenance program should be instituted to meet these objectives. Timely maintenance is as important to the life of a form panel as proper handling. Before the use of each form panel, spray or roll on EFCO form release agent to the face of the forms. Immediately after each use and before the concrete hardens, wash down the backs of the forms with water. Immediately after stripping the form panels, use a burlap bag to wipe down the face sheet and the perimeter flanges of the form. This should be accomplished within 1 hour of stripping from the concrete setup. A complete handy-form forming catalog, EFC 852, is available, and it includes Why Choose EFCO? An explanation and illustrations of the simple mechanics, examples of the versatility of the system, a complete listing of the form panels and accessories available with the system, including pictures and the weight of each item, and examples of the form panels in action. In addition to the catalog, EFCO provides the Handyform Installation Manual, EFC 857. This manual is full of color photos, illustrations of the many applications, and step-by-step procedures for the assembly, stripping, and maintenance of equipment. EFCO is a company with a long history of developing innovative concrete forming solutions. The company started by identifying a need and filling it, and now more than 75 years ago, delivering the new EFCO Handyform system. With this system, EFCO can deliver the best value and lowest in-place concrete costs.